Welcome to This Explainer. Think about the last time you tapped an app on your phone to order dinner or groceries, or maybe that last-minute package you forgot to buy earlier. It feels like absolute magic when it just magically appears at your doorstep a few minutes later, right? But behind that one simple tap is a massive, incredibly complex, and honestly, a largely hidden logistical machine. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the invisible infrastructure that powers your everyday habits. We're going to explore how a massive explosion in consumer demand is crashing headfirst into the physical limits of our cities, our power grids, and our technology.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. 1. The trillion-dollar delivery boom. 2. The fleet electrification roadblock. 3. Miami's public charging crisis. 4. Mobile charging bypasses the grid. And 5. AI and battery optimization.
All right, Section 1, the trillion-dollar delivery boom. Let's take a look at the skyrocketing consumer demand that is currently stressing the global supply chain to its absolute breaking point. To really wrap our heads around the scale of this challenge, we have to look at the numbers, and they are huge. According to extensive market research by Data Intello, the global on-demand delivery market is projected to reach an absolutely staggering $1.12 trillion by 2034. That is a compound annual growth rate of over 14%. This completely unprecedented scale is being driven by a fundamental shift in our behavior as consumers. We simply expect things faster than ever before, and gig economy platforms are scaling up massively just to keep up with us. Now, when we break down exactly where all that money is going, the data shows that food delivery forms the biggest chunk of the market at over 38%. That makes sense, right? We order food a lot. But what's really interesting is that grocery delivery is rapidly catching up at almost 23%, making it the fastest growing segment out there. Moving all of these physical goods requires literally millions of daily vehicle trips, mostly in ultra-dense megacities where logistics are just inherently a nightmare. And here's the kicker. Operators aren't just delivering more stuff, they are delivering it insanely fast. Platform operators are fundamentally pushing the limits of physical reality to keep us happy. They're pouring money into micro-fulfillment centers, which the industry calls dark stores, placing inventory just a mile or two away from dense residential areas. When you combine that with route optimization algorithms, they're compressing delivery windows down to a mere 10 to 15 minutes. I mean, that is barely enough time to set the dining table. But moving this fast, at this crazy scale, has created a major friction point. Which brings us to Section 2, the fleet electrification roadblock. Let's explore the hidden friction of transitioning to commercial electric vehicles when the physical world simply isn't ready for it. A really detailed analysis by Electric Mobility Canada outlines the systemic barriers holding commercial fleets back from going all in on EVs. Buying the actual trucks is honestly only half the battle. Fleets face incredibly high capital costs just to reach price parity with traditional gas vehicles, and there's a very real shortage of heavy-duty EV supply right now. But the absolute biggest barrier, it actually has nothing to do with the vehicles themselves, it's the grid. The EMC working group summarized the true bottleneck perfectly. They said the top gap is shortening grid upgrade timelines. It's that simple. Local power grids simply cannot handle the massive, concentrated energy draw required to charge a whole fleet of heavy-duty electric delivery vans all at the exact same time. Upgrading these grids involves massive administrative headaches, serious supply chain issues for electrical equipment, and incredibly long regulatory timelines. Let's move to Section 3, Miami's public charging crisis. It helps to ground all this macro-level data in a real-world scenario that's unfolding right now down in South Florida. And this brilliantly illustrates the core problem. A recent CBS News report highlighted this completely unsustainable gap happening in Miami. Check this out. While electric vehicle registrations jumped 68% year over year, the installation of actual public charging stations increased by just 12%. So delivery drivers and regular EV owners are basically out there gambling on whether they'll be able to find a working charger when they desperately need one. So you might be wondering, why is it so incredibly slow? Well, traditional fixed charging stations just cannot scale fast enough. In places like Miami, building associations move at a glacial pace. The permitting alone stretches anywhere from 6 to 18 months. If a utility company actually needs to upgrade a substation to handle new DC fast chargers, that process takes 2 to 5 years. Add in complex hurricane building codes and the nightmare of digging up underground coastal utilities, and you are literally looking at an agonizing decade before the infrastructure truly matures to meet today's demand. No one has 10 years to wait. And the human and economic stakes here are incredibly high. The CBS Miami report emphasized that for rideshare and delivery drivers, waiting in line for a charger actively destroys their income. Every single hour they sit in a charging queue costs them $40 to $60 in lost fares. For a small business owner with a delivery van, finding every nearby charger occupied means missed deliveries and totally crippled operations. A lack of physical infrastructure is actively hurting the local economy.
Section 4. Mobile charging bypasses the grid. Because people aren't just sitting around waiting, here are the ingenious hardware solutions keeping fleets moving without waiting years for utility companies to catch up. Enter mobile charging. Companies like BeCharged EV are completely flipping the script by bringing the power directly to the vehicle, fully circumventing the grid bottleneck. It's brilliant. A delivery driver simply taps an app and a service truck arrives, usually in under 30 minutes, to provide high-power DC fast charging right there on the street. It completely shifts the paradigm from cars hunting for power to power hunting for cars.
Another really fascinating example is a company called L-Charge. They have built what they call a market-first approach. They literally took a Ford service truck and integrated a 60-kilowatt DC fast charger directly into the chassis. Instead of lugging around massive, heavy onboard batteries to dispense power, the charger is powered directly by the truck's gas engine, using a power takeoff system. It provides up to 15 hours of continuous charging capability, supporting commercial electric fleets precisely where they're stranded, or staging for their next run.
Now, you might be thinking that this premium concierge service must be prohibitively expensive, but a flat, transparent fee of around $165 actually competes fiercely with public fast chargers. When a commercial fleet factors in the hidden costs of public charging, the session fees, the peak pricing, the idle fees if the driver doesn't move the truck the second it's full, and most importantly, the lost labor time of a driver just sitting in a queue, mobile charging suddenly makes perfect economic sense. Let's move to Section 5, AI and battery optimization. We've talked hardware, now let's see how this builds into the software side of the equation to manage fleet efficiency completely behind the scenes. Because hardware is really only as good as the software managing it. According to the commercial charging network GreenLane, the single most critical factor in how quickly an electric truck will charge is its state of charge, or SOC. It's actually a super common misconception that just plugging into a high-powered charger guarantees a fast charge. In reality, the truck's internal battery management system communicates with the station and dictates the flow of electricity to protect the battery from overheating and damage.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is this brilliant way to visualize it using a bus seating analogy. Think of electrons like passengers boarding a bus. When the battery is mostly empty, between 20 and 80%, it's like an empty bus. Electrons easily find a seat, so the truck charges at its maximum speed. As it fills past 80%, it requires more maneuvering, and the charging speed tapers off. Getting that last 5% from 95 to 100, that's like searching for the final seat on a packed bus. It is agonizingly slow. For commercial fleets, training drivers to target this 20 to 95% sweet spot is absolutely crucial to ensure minimal downtime.
But here's the catch. Optimizing the battery only matters if the truck is actually carrying goods, which brings us to a massive logistical headache: deadhead miles. Up to 20% of the miles driven by commercial trucks are entirely empty. They drop off a load and drive all the way back with absolutely nothing in the back. This wastes fuel, it burns precious battery charge, and it costs the industry billions while contributing to wasteful carbon emissions. So, how do you solve a logistical puzzle with millions of moving variables? You use artificial intelligence. Predictive AI load matching completely replaces the old dinosaur method of brokers making hundreds of manual phone calls. AI algorithms instantly process massive datasets. They analyze the specific capacity of the vehicle, the driver's available hours, live GPS traffic patterns, and even real-time weather conditions to instantly pair available cargo with an empty truck heading in that exact direction. It's like a hyper-efficient matchmaker for freight. AI platforms like Project 44 and Flock Freight are creating a highly efficient digital logistics web. They don't just find full loads either. They can creatively consolidate partial shipments into a single return load. This means carriers eliminate those empty deadhead miles, and shippers only pay for the exact space they use on the truck. It ensures that every single ounce of battery power, whether it was charged on the grid or off it, is used to generate revenue. Which leads us to a pretty fascinating question about the future of logistics. We are seeing platforms push for under 20-minute deliveries by utilizing dark stores. We are seeing fleets bypass the traditional power grid entirely using mobile charging trucks. And we are seeing AI instantly predict and reroute cargo to eliminate empty space.
So, as these digital and mobile networks become increasingly sophisticated and self-reliant, will the high-speed supply chain of tomorrow completely untether itself from the fixed traditional infrastructure of the past? It's definitely something to think about the next time you tap that app for a quick delivery. Thank you for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.